go out among humans and find the ways thereof, that he in the gulf may know. Welcome everybody to The Whisperer in Darkness. I'm your host for the evening, the Birdman, known as Falcon. This right here is a visual novel adaptation of the Lovecraft story of the same name. This is one I'm actually not familiar with myself, so I'd figure it'd be a pretty cool thing to check out. This is coming out on the 18th on Steam, so by the time you see this video, the game should be available on Steam if you want to check it out for your own accord. We won't be doing the entire thing here, obviously. I'm just going to be previewing it for you, get an idea what the game's all about. What's really cool about this is if you're like me, it kind of takes you a while to get around to reading books and stories and stuff like that, so this might give you an incentive to actually check this out, in case you're familiar with it, or if you're not familiar with it as well. It actually has a really amazing soundtrack, and it also has really cool illustrations to kind of go along with it, so I would definitely recommend putting on some headphones now if you're not listening to this in headphones already, and just kind of like take it all in. The music's gonna be really, really cool, and then, you know, I'll try to do my part over here and reading this out for you. So without further ado, Chapter 1. The Journal of Alex Wilmarth. Miss Ackley, to begin with, I must apologize most profoundly for my failure in the end. Though there remains nothing in my power that could help you, I still write to console you of your loss, and to caution you, after the last wishes of your father. You may choose not to believe my story, although a comprehensive record of my correspondence with Henry Ackley is preserved in the storage drive I sent you, along with my first rushed letter. The police found no more evidence to corroborate my final report than the bullet holes in the Ackley farmhouse. Nothing remained to suggest that anyone had ever been there, other than the missing Ackley himself. You might think it was simply a nightmare that led me to flee the farmhouse at night, recklessly driving a stolen Ford through the wild hills of Vermont. I can only testify as to the vividness of the things I saw and heard, and relate in utmost detail the things that occurred in the farmhouse. Credulous of my tale or not, I must beg you to abandon any foolish notion of returning to those God-forsaken hills. I write to you here, on paper, because I have no faith in the safe transmission of sensitive digital communication. Although I am in part to blame for your father's dreadful fate, I ask also that you do not attempt further contact with me. I aim now to quit my entanglement in all this, and to live the remainder of my life in the fragile peace of hiding. The matter that came to my attention several weeks ago because of the recent flash floods in Vermont. An eccentric poor woman camping in the town-shut state forest reported strange bodies washed up one morning on the shore of the West River above Newfane. Among other rumors, this testimony sparked a surge of theories. Myths and legends began to resurface from decades past. Some of the most seemingly well-researched claims actually found print, sparkling popular discussion and debate. Elsa Davenport, bizarre tales of the elder race may carry some truth. Vermont folklore, for centuries, have hinted at the existence of a hidden race of monstrous beings somewhere among its most remote hills. Talk of those creatures has since resurfaced after evidence of their presence was reported by Vermont locals venturing deeper than usual in the mountains. They claim to have been seen prints in mud, each report describing the very same claw-like outline belonging to no known animal, inhabitant of Vermont wilderness, curiously arranged stone circles where the grass was worn away, as if the site of some druidic ritual. Cave mouths closed by boulders in seemingly deliberate fashion, even large dim figures taking flight under moonless skies. These claims might easily be dismissed as lunatic fantasy, were the stray accounts not to fall in such perfect agreement with one another. With these reports coinciding with claims of alien bodies found on river beds, it can hardly be denied that something strange is at work in the hills of Vermont. Most surprising about these stories and their apparent connection with largely forgotten mythology, both point to creatures taking the shape of a huge crab with too many legs and great bat-like wings. Could these reports be describing the old ones of legend? As an academic and folklorist, I was already well aware of the legends, and my opinions of the subject became increasingly sought after by my students. From my studies, I devised that Davenport's connection between recent events and largely forgotten mythology was entirely fraudulent. The more recent folk tales of New Hampshire overflowed with references to the Migo, or Winged Ones. Said to come from the sky, they had mines and certain earthly hills, where they gathered a kind of stone unique to Earth and flew back to their own stars. They were mostly content to leave humans alone, but sometimes people disappeared among their hills. Their hills, in the deep woods of the highest peaks and the dark valleys where streams trickle from unknown sources. Their hills, where animals once dwelled, and now silent, for all intelligent life had either fled or vanished. Their hills, where, in the dead of night, sometimes strange buzzing voices could be heard in conversation, seemingly imitating human speech. None of it was it to be believed, of course. Chapter 2. Eventually, I decided to take my expertise in rational skepticism to the papers to see if I could quell the nonsense once and for all. I wish I never had. Lately, particular public attention has been given to tales of strange events surrounding the hills of Vermont. As an assistant professor of the renowned Miskatonic University and a scholar of folklore, I intend to inform you of the purely irrational origin of these stories and to dispel fully the irrational fear of these hills. The common name now applied to the aliens supposedly lurking in Vermont is the Old Ones. Claimed sightings of such otherworldly beings are not in fact recent phenomenon to this region. Early Puritans feared beasts of the devil they glimpsed through the thick woods at night. We now know this fear as a mere function of societal ostracism, whereby Orthodox leaders eliminated dissent from their more subversive opponents, calling certain people devil worshippers and expelling them from their communities. Yet more troublingly, strange writings of elaborate hoax from as late as the 1930s paint similar invading creatures as heralding the end of human civilization. A hate-fueled metaphor for natives, fear of growing immigrant populations. These weird tales mistakenly believed by a startling number of impressionable readers embrace the subtle undercurrent of racial supremacy which preserves to this day. Comparison between the old myths and the recent tales reveals undeniably close similarities between the two. The only rational conclusion is that the recent hysteria is a mere outgrowth of historically entrenched oppression and racism, to which there is not a grain of truth. Ackley's first message came in the email one morning. Alrighty, so here we actually do have hold down directional keys to explore. So here we can actually explore a little bit. Alright, so this part, I'm very unfamiliar with this game, obviously, so this is kind of like new to me. But apparently we're going to come over here and check this out. It's actually kind of cool. So we'll come down here. Email from hwackley@zmail.com. Professor Wilmarth, I have read your summaries of Vermont folklore in the Reformer and was impressed by the depth of your research. As a student of anthropology and folklore, similar to yourself, it is easy to see why you chose to dismiss these supernatural tales. Many a scientist would connect them with silly legends and think no more on it, as I myself was originally inclined to. Unfortunately, for reasons I will explain, I'm afraid your opponents, ignorant as they are, may be closer to the truth. I have believed my entire life in the mist of the dreaded hills and forests. Following the latest reports, I explored deeper into the uninhabited hills and valleys, expecting to confirm their falsehood. I have come to regret my curiosity, for I now have certain unsettling evidence to the opposite effect. Indeed, as a man of science, I must now acknowledge that something strange is happening here. I do not intend, in writing to you, to spark any argument. My real wish is that you will hush the matter to the best of your ability. Nothing good may come of further drawing the public's attention to this place. Perhaps share this message with no one. If you wish to see the evidence I have collected, I will send it to you as soon as I can. I have taken several photographs of things I discovered in the woods. Yours, Henry Ackley. My reply was short, no more than a paragraph. I requested he send us evidence from a kind of humorous curiosity. I would certainly be interested in seeing your photographs. Rest assured, I do not intend to further involve myself in any public debate over the matter. He sent the photos the next day. One night, woods, I heard the sounds of distant ritual chanting. I followed the noise close enough to realize it would be foolish to come any closer to it. I thought the next morning to return to that spot where I found this stone circle. I don't know what to make of it. This is one of the prints you can make out around the circle in the other photo. You might suspect it's mark created by some jokester to stoke my growing unease. But remember that from the many years I've lived here, my intuition for the traces left by natural wildlife is quite refined. I am confident this print is neither artificial nor belonging to any native animal. At the same spot, I found a strange black stone. I've been working hieroglyphics for almost a week. Despite my anthropological background, I cannot identify the language as any other human tongue. The last photo was of Ackley himself, standing alone in front of the farmhouse. After viewing the pictures one by one, alongside Ackley's measured contemplation, I couldn't help but begin to entertain the notion that something truly unusual was taking place near the Ackley farmhouse, though nothing so supernatural as he seemed to imply. Still, I never wrote to the papers again. Slowly, the debates died off. Chapter 3. Something in the way Ackley presented his discoveries, and theories thereof, prompted me to continue our discussion despite my initial doubts. Despite my measured trust for him, I contacted his old professors to verify that he was indeed the mature scholar he claimed, thus dispelling my suspicion of his messages as part of an elaborate farce. This, and the clear rationality which characterized his early correspondence, prevented me from discounting his experiences. In addition to the black stone, Ackley had one more tangible piece of evidence. He actually managed to record a minute or two of what he described as ritual chanting, which he heard one night in the woods. He sent me the audio file at my eager persuasion. You may have heard it yourself, if you've yet delved into the accursed hard drive containing every communication which ever passed between us. Upon first listening, my heart was struck cold, and I began to truly believe the wider claims Ackley put forth. His careful distance from the speakers was evident in the way their voices carried through the trees no louder than whispers. Still, I will never forget the few words I could hear above all rest. It's the lords of the woods, even too. From the wells of night to the gulfs of space, and from the gulfs of space to the wells of night, ever the praises of great Cthulhu. And it has come to pass that the Lord of the Woods, being 7 and 9 down the onyx steps, tributes to him in the gulf, Asgard, he of whom thou hast taught us marvels. On the wings of night, out beyond space, out beyond. Go out among humans and find the ways thereof, that he in the gulf may know. Await, near Latatep, he, the great messenger. Down from this world of 7 suns to Monk, and he shall put on the semblance of them, the masking flesh, the robe that hides, Next was the matter of the black stone. Accolade claimed to have found it in the woods of Round Hill, its unknown hieroglyphics nearly worn away, perhaps from centuries of age, or even millennia. He soon began to display a certain paranoia over the stone's discovery. Once he took it home, he claimed that everything changed, that he might be killed or taken should they decide his curiosity had overreached. After puzzling over the stone's symbols for weeks, Accolade believed he was on the cusp of unraveling its secrets. We agreed that if he could send it to me safely, I might be able to find the last crucial piece needed to translate the glyphs. I managed to convince him to drive into Townshed and ship the stone from there. Its estimated date of arrival came and went, and to my dismay, I received no delivery. Distraught, Accolade concluded that the stone must have been intercepted. Now they must be watching him more closely than ever, he realized. I reassured him that it must simply have been an accident and promptly conducted my own investigation into the status of the delivery. Alright guys, and I think we're going to wrap it up right over here. So I hope this gave you a bit of a preview on Whisper in Darkness. All the information for the game will be down below if you want to check it out for yourself. Very amazing soundtrack that accompanies this. When I was over here reading this, the music and the voices and the noises really gets you in the entire feel of the game itself, and the story, I should say. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Leave a thumbs up. I will catch you next time.